Hi, this is our video where I'm going to be explaining the different blocks and screens of our application for this challenge. Here's the first screen, that is the expense tracker. This is our challenge, and here's our first screen. When the screen is initialized, we store values in a tiny db1, which is our list where all information is stored. We use a tag as development and the value set to false. When the button one, the only button in our screen, is pressed, it is going to open the next screen, which is the welcome screen that I'm going to open and explain right now. Okay, this is the other screen. With this other button, when pressed, that goes to the next screen, which is summary. As you can see here, we chose the topic of travel and vacations to modify our application. Okay, the next screen, the summary. This one is the biggest one. This is the actual calculator where we are going to see the income, the expenses, and all the other data that we will use in this application. So here on the blocks, let's start. Okay. When we are in the summary screen and our screen is closed, we call the init. When the screen summary is initialized, we call again the init. And when the BTN history is clicked, it opens another screen, which is this history screen, where all the data that we've already input into the application is going to be showed in a table. Okay. When the BTN income is clicked, which is other of our buttons, the other screen add expenses is going to be opened, and it's going to have a start value of income that we are going to add to our list, and we're going to see that screen in a moment. When the BTN expense button is clicked, we are going to open the same screen at expense, but instead of income, we are going to have expenses, which are going to be like negative numbers. Now here we have, when the button reset is clicked, all the values in our list are going to be resetted, are going to be set by 0. So if we had already inputted into the application inputs and expenses, these are going to be erased, and we are going to be again in 0. As you can see here, in the tiny DVD, we set all the numbers in 0 and create an empty list when this button is pressed. Okay. Here we have the format of the number, and it's for decimal numbers. Decimal numbers is so if you add a very long amount of money with a decimal number, it's going to be cut. It's only going to have 2 decimal digits, so it doesn't appear super big in the screen, and it's easier to understand this way. Now we have this, which is to initialize our income and expenses or our balance. This is going to be showed in this screen. Wait, let me see if I can show you in a second. Yes, it's here. It says current summary, and that's just the numbers that we input into our application. When we first open it, it's going to be 0 if we don't have anything in it yet. And when we use the screens of input our expenses, those numbers are going to change, and that's the actual way the user is going to see the result of the data that he's putting inside the application. And you can see, if you have an income and an expense, the income is going to be affected by that expense. It's going to be a smaller number, and you can see that in your main screen. Now I'm going to go to the history. Okay. Again, this is the screen, and okay, this is the screen of the history. You can see again the image. Before explaining what the history actually does, the simplest one is the button, which is return just to go back to the previous screen without using the buttons in the phone itself. And this history, what it's going to do is going to show us in a little table all the expenses and all the income that we've put inside the application. Very organized and very good, and more specific than the main screen that just gives us our actual balance. You can see it here. We're calling the tiny DVD where all our data is stored. We have the different tags. You can see it here is a table for our Android. If you use this application in an Android device, you're going to see that table. In some emulators it's a little different, but you can see it very good. This is for the titles or the lists that we're going to be calling in this screen, so the user can see specifically how it is going. Now, this is the screen where we add the expenses or the incomes. This gives you different options. You can select a date, which is not going to affect your balance, but it's going to show the date of your expenses and incomes in the table. So this is a little more organized for the user to see that. You can select different categories for it to be used in. And these are our categories. We have travel, vacation, entertainment, transportation, groceries, and miscellaneous. This is all around the topic, the thematic of travel and vacations and trips. So you can have everything organized. We have the income type, okay, how you get that money, and we have the amount, which is the actual number that you're going to submit, and that is going to the calculator, and when you press submit, which is going to put it in the list, it will be calculated with your expenses, and it's going to show you your new balance. Here we have our different variables to create the empty list, and we have the expenses or the income here, which before you put any kind of number, when you first open the screen, it is set to 0, as well as your balance when you first enter this application. Here we have the list picker, is a list that we have, and we are putting it with first our variable, the category of our list, and more selection in our list just to take the data from. Okay. We have when the button return is clicked just to close the screen and go to the previous one. And here we have more list pickers, that these are the blocks that we use. So the data that the user is putting inside the list, the TinyDB1, is recalled, and we put it in the screen so he can see it, and everything is calculated. We have the global history, which is our other variable that's going to be in the history, because the things that you put here in this screen is also affecting the others. It's also affecting the summary and the history, as I said in the screen before. Here we have the incomes just to be visible with the variables that we have, because all the numbers that are going to be displayed are going to be put by the user, and depending on what numbers you have is the one that are going to be shown in the screen. So here we have just a clear button, just so everything you write inside the application is going to be erased if you don't want to save those changes. We have a segment, we have our variable of number. We have again the format to decimal numbers just to have 2 digits, so it works well with the other ones, the screens that we have. Here we have save. This is where the things that we write in this screen are saved in our list, and it accepts all the formats and the dates that we can have in this application. You can see it here, we are recalling our variables and comparing them, so it all works. And we have submit when it's clicked, when everything is already been like this. And the input that the user puts in the text box is going to be submitted to the list. It's going to be part of the list, and we can use it later in this same application. And we have this text like please first enter income type and all these things, so the user actually knows what he is supposed to do. These are the instructions. Okay. So that was the explanation of the blocks and the screens of our challenge and our application. Thank you.